Hello, travelers, and welcome to the Muddy Hog. I'd like to invite you in to warm yourself by the fire while I spin a tale of an adventure that started right here in this very tavern. This adventure is part of a much larger world that I will be bringing to you. So, leave a comment, hit the like button, and let me know what you think. But until then, sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. The door opened abruptly. No one cared enough to pay attention. There weren't a lot of patrons at the moment anyway. The tavern owner shuffled over to the edge of the bar. "What'll it be, traveler?" The man spoke in a gruff but gentle voice. "I'll take one mead. Got some work ahead. Just need something to loosen me up." "All right then, one mead. We have a nice high elven mead, but we all know dwarven mead is the best." "Dwarven mead it is then." The bartender smiled and grabbed a horn to fill. He slid the mead over to the stranger, foam spilling over the side as the man in the dark, ratty cloak grabbed it. He lifted it to his lips, and before he could taste the thick froth, the tavern door slammed open. The few patrons at the bar jumped. The barkeep stopped. He was cleaning out a tankard and sat it down. As he looked up from his task, the stranger noticed the change in the bartender's demeanor. Welcome to the Muddy Hog. Please, have a seat. My barmaid will be right with you." The barkeep had a note of fear in his voice. The stranger noted this as he finally let the delicious mead wash the parched sensation from his throat. The stranger moaned his delight with his drink. The newcomers decided to sit at the bar, coincidentally close by the cloaked figure. "And what are you supposed to be?" He heard an unexpectedly gentle voice speak to him. He turned somewhat slowly and took in the visage of the speaker. She had a long, dark ponytail, braided and tipped with jewelry. Not the fancy kind, more of the handmade kind that could be useful for something else. Her eyes were a strange shade of yellow. He couldn't quite place it. She looked more on the shorter side. Being that she was seated on a stool, it was difficult to tell. She stared at him intensely. He took in her tattooed, bare upper arms and her curvy hips, the light pieces of armored leather that sat over her chest and her forearms, her leathered boots and the handles that shone out of the top of each boot, clearly daggers. Then it dawned on him. She's an adventurer. Makes sense now. He took in the three men beside her. One of them was a large fellow, clearly a half-giant. He let his brain work around the physics of such a union. Almost as if she could read his mind, the woman said abruptly, his mother was the giant, obviously. He did his best not to grin, not to give away too much of his own physical appearance. Then she spoke again. "You never answered me. No manners? Being rude to a lady is unforgivable." She held a wicked smile at the end of her words. "Oh, please, miss, we don't want any trouble. I just got this place back in order from the last disagreement that happened here." One of the men traveling with the woman stood and leaned over the bar. "Then I suggest you mind your own fucking business," he said with venom in his voice. The cloaked figure had to remind himself that his excursion was only possible if he stayed out of trouble. His true intentions for being here would be revealed in time, but as of now, he needs to lay low. "I'll buy this round, but only if you give me your word you won't trash the bar or cause any trouble." The stranger's voice was warm but stern. The woman smiled at him as she smacked her companion's arm, telling him to sit his ass down or she'll skin him for costing her a free drink. He did so with a look of embarrassment. So she's in charge, he noted to himself. Well, Since you're inclined to be so generous, we're also hungry. Very hungry. Before he realized it, he smiled. Shit, he thought, closing his mouth as quickly as he could. The woman's face twisted as she stared at his lips. Hold on just a second, she started to say, but he reached into his cloak, pulled 4 gold coins from his pouch, and threw it on the bar. Food, drinks, and a room if you'll be needing it, he said, with haste as he began to stand and turn from the bar. Hold on just a minute. What are you? The stranger stopped, turned his head slightly, and answered, Just a wanderer. I mean no harm. Enjoy your time here. And with that, he headed to the door. The night air was gentle on his skin. The cool breeze was enough to dry most of the sweat. The moon was bright. The pale light reminded him of the goddess Isidra, her sparkling white skin. Never mind. He walked out of the small village and found himself on a road that seemed to lead deeper into the cover of the woods. Good, he thought. This cloak is stifling. He pulled his hood back, finally freeing his pale white locks of hair. His ears were sore at the tips from rubbing against the woolen fabric. He would have to get used to these things. He gently massaged the long points of his elven-shaped ears. He looked down to fix his pouch and realized his dark purple skin gave off a bit of a glow under the full moon. He found a spot to camp for the night, sitting his pack on the ground and rolling out his bed fur. He still had some salted meat in his pack and a flagon of water. He would be fine for the night. He stoked the flames as he stared into them. It was peaceful out here. The tips of his ears twitched, and to no one in particular, he spoke aloud. Instead of fumbling through the shadows, come and sit by the fire. Shortly after this, the woman from the tavern emerged from the trees, that same devious smile plastered on her face. You're good, she said, as she made her way over to sit opposite him. I guess, but save me the trouble, and tell your companions to come out as well. I don't know what you're planning, but it won't end well. She laughed, genuinely, and then shouted, You heard him. Come on out. As they did so, all 3 men gasped at the image of the stranger sitting before them. They were accustomed to seeing all manner of weird races on Ashkar, but never have they seen something like this before. The dark skin reminiscent of the night elves wasn't what shocked them. It was the tattoos that almost looked as if they were part of his skin's natural growth, and the platinum white hair that fell down his back. They also realized just how tall he was. While sitting by the fire, his head came up to almost chest height of their tallest guy, the half-giant. He smiled and turned his head to look at them. That's when they noted his purple eyes. I don't bite, he said, with a mischievous grin. Then he turned his head and continued staring into the flames. The woman motioned for them to sit by her, having a seat around the fire. So since we're meeting again, I think it wise to ask for your name. The woman spoke first, introducing herself. I have a birth name, but I go by Sable. The big one is Grand, and the one there with the scar on his mug, well, that's Merrill. And the short one, well, Stump. Or at least that's what I call him. The shorter of the men just looked at her with defeat. And you are? He looked up as she said this. I am Zayn. You can call me Zay for short. Well, Zay, what brings you out here? I'm looking for something. Something to help me in the coming days. Ooh, very cryptic. From the minute I saw your smile, I knew something was up. See, we've been hunting a pack of Lunarians, and when I saw your teeth, I thought maybe we were onto something. But looking at you here and now, I realize you're not what I thought you were. Zayn laughed. A brother of the moon. Me? Well, I guess I could see how that might look. But more importantly, where do you get your authority to hunt the creatures of this world? These creatures are a defect of their coven, and I was asked by their alpha to dispose of them. That sounds rather extreme. I don't ask a lot of questions. I just get paid. Zayn tilted his head, catching a scent on the breeze. Damn it. How could I have been so absent-minded? 3 men across from him shifted defensively at his outburst. It's a full moon. This was a mistake, he said while getting to his feet. Reaching his full height, he towered over the sitting group and then began to kick dirt into the fire. We need to move. They're tracking you. All right, boys, you know what to do, the small woman yelled as she jumped to her feet. She started spitting out orders, directing her companions into different directions, and it was then that it dawned on Zion. This wasn't an accident. No sooner than he could confront her, there came a howl and the snapping of twigs. Shit, I didn't expect them to get here so fast, she said. The moment the words left her lips, a growl ripped through the small campsite. No sooner than he could confront her, there came a howl and the snapping of twigs. Shit, she said. I didn't expect for them to get here so fast. The moment the words left her lips, a growl ripped through the small campsite as the smaller of the 3 men, Stump, was ripped backwards into the darkness. She screamed out, "No!" She drew the long daggers from her boots. Silver-tipped, they gleamed in the moonlight. There was a gargled scream, and then silence. Stump clearly didn't make it. Gron stood at her back holding his warhammer, plated with a silver maw. Merrill drew an arrow and pulled it back across the bow with expert grace. Zion looked around for a place to perch. He was not allowed to interfere in the affairs of the mortals on this world. He jumped, rocketing at least 15 feet into the air and landing on a sturdy bough of a tree. Are you kidding me? You coward! He heard Sable yell from his perch. I'm sorry, I took an oath. Damn your oath, I'll remember this, she said with pure rage. Merrill fired off an arrow at an approaching wolf that struck it right in the eye, causing it to hit the ground instantly dead. Gron was right behind him, bringing his great hammer down onto a larger wolf, cracking the ribs and leaving its midsection damn near flat. They had good reflexes, he noted, and they work well as a team. As he thought to himself, Merrill was assaulted faster than he could draw, causing his left arm, the one he uses to hold the bow, to become mangled by the jaws of the creature, before Sable was able to plant her silver daggers into its throat, cutting the head off just before the point where the mouth met Merrill's arm. There's too many of them, Sable. There wasn't supposed to be this many. What happened? Merrill whimpered as he tried to reach for a sword he had on his side. I don't know. They weren't supposed to be this coordinated. Shit! She spat as she wiped blood from her face. Gron swung his hammer, cracking the skull of another wolf. They were testing them now, working out the defenses. Wolves rushed in one at a time, trying to get them off balance. They were gonna die. Zayn knew that if he didn't help, they wouldn't make it. He had lied. He never took an official oath not to harm the creatures of this world, but he did tell himself he would never use his power for praise or corruption. Ooh, pretty exciting. Well, yes, I purposely left you on a cliffhanger because in the next story, we will continue and we'll find out how or if our adventurers survived. Hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, and leave a comment. I will be starting a playlist of these adventuring stories, so if you want more, you know where to find them. And as always, folks, remember to leave a light on. Well, for this, I'd say turn the lights off and enjoy.